Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Outdoor Collective. That's right, it's Rick and Kyle, and we're back this week. I'll tell you what, Kyle, it is great being back. Thank you so much. You did a great job last week holding down the fort by yourself. Got a lot of good insight, a lot of good stuff, had a lot of good comments about what you had to throw down. So thank you for doing that and kind of even stopping in last minute and making that work. It's really cool. It's really fun. It's really kind of fulfilling to be able to do stuff do the work at your own house, but then you have to deal with issues and problems. And when things don't get met, then there's nobody to yell at but yourself. So thank you for figuring out that and taking care of that for me while I had to do that. So thanks a lot, man.
Nah, no worries, man. I understand stuff pops up, and sometimes you got to be a man about things. Take the bull by the horns. I get it. I miss you when you're gone, but I seem to be capable. My musical shenanigans, kind of, maybe some people fell asleep. I don't know. That wasn't the point, but just trying to do something a little bit different, have fun. Kind of takes the place of having you in there, just something extra to add to the entertainment.
There you go. We're all about the entertainment. We are
Yeah,
here to please. And speaking of entertainment value,
yeah.
are you live on location today? Was seeing your video there.
No,
I'm wondering, are you live on location in Alaska with the
oh,
area? What's it called? The Lumini Areolas or whatever. That's not the right way
what?
to say it. I have no idea. The Northern Lights.
What'd you just call it?
I you're gonna have to go back and
I
rewind it
think you
because I'm
just
not
said
saying anything.
areolas.
I probably did.
I'm not
You do.
sure, but
For those of
I
you
don't know if
not
they're called
watching,
that.
for those who are not watching on YouTube, we have no areolas on the screen. I promise.
No, I chose the you like the video. I'm okay with the video. I know that you do a lot of this for work and things like that. And I chose the Northern Lights background. And so if it didn't have so many like video like edits behind it or whatever, you
Mhm.
could almost pull it off. But I mean, the times I've been in Alaska and seen it, it has been just all green like that. It's a pretty close representation of what I've seen. So
Yeah,
I
for
like
sure.
Rick. I've noticed you're very Western today with a hat on. Tell me about that.
Oh, I am wearing the black cowboy hat in honor of season 4 of Yellowstone, opening up on starting on Sunday. I'll tell you what, if you're looking for an outdoor show that really has everything you could want when it comes to a TV show, and and on top of that, the biggest and the best thing about it is the views of the show.
Yeah.
You cannot go wrong. You cannot go wrong. There is not 90% of the show. I think Kyle and I were talking a little bit earlier before we started taping. 90% of the show is outside in Montana, um, and it is flat out superb. I mean, wonderful cinematography, wonderful whatever. The acting, great. It's just a great TV show.
Yeah.
So I pulled out the black cowboy hat and the work jacket today to sit here just so I could feel a little bit more manly or a little bit more cowboyish for our outdoor collective tonight.
You look like you just got done working some fence.
Yep, I'll tell you what, I've worked fence and it ain't fun.
Yeah. Well, it looks good,
But
man.
it was on a sheep farm in Kentucky, but still still not the funnest thing ever.
There's a story somewhere in that.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. No, I like your theme tonight. I'm going with. I happen to be sporting the best puffy known to mankind.
Dude,
Uh,
I was literally just going to say that. Like that puffy that you're sporting today looks like it's like I mean, is it gold plated? Because it looks amazing.
well, it's Kifaru International. So I've been like completely jonesing over this for 3 years, and got it as a birthday gift. So shout out to Brooke for being a good secret Santa, or would you be that at birthdays? I don't even
Yeah,
know.
birthdays. Yeah.
Elf
Mm-hmm.
or secret. Uh,
Stork. I don't know. No, that's something
no,
different too. Mm-hmm.
Easter. No, I don't know.
Yeah. Right.
Anyway, cool gift. I love it. It's awesome. It does the best out of the puffies that I've had, and I've got Kuiu, some other brands that are pretty good. It does the best in regulating your body heat. You don't get overheated, but definitely traps in some warmth. And you know, why wouldn't you like it? The material is their own, called rhino skin. So like,
Amazing.
let's
And
go
can you,
outside in this thing.
yeah, tell us the name of that again. That
It's
brand.
Kifaru International.
Spell that because I can't understand you very well.
Kifaru.
Kifaru. Okay.
So I've got a blanket by those guys, like a quilt by those guys. It's really nice. It's a double stuffed one. Got, the cool thing about that, it's got grommets and ties everywhere. We can call it Kyle's Gear Pile. Buy Kifaru gear. You'll never be sorry.
Never be sorry, and you'll never be left cold.
Right. You might have less in the old bank account. But I'll tell you,
Or less an arm or a leg, but yes.
yeah, you might be cold, but this thing, I tell you what, is a non-act, you can wear it as an active layer. Some people do, but as a top layer, when you're sitting down somewhere stationary, this thing is solid piece of gear.
And the thing is, we joke. I mean, we joke about it, and yes, it is, you're getting what you pay for.
Yeah.
In the sense of you're never going to have to buy another puffy jacket again.
Unless you catch it on fire.
Will you, Kyle? Probably yes, but do you have to? No, you probably never have to pay to buy another one again.
Well, if you catch it on fire, you may need a new one. That part may be true.
Well, we do play with fire, and we do like, seeing how large we can make our fires. So that is a good point.
Yeah, pro tip: don't burn your stove in your vestibule. Things will catch on fire
with your Karafu right next to you.
Yeah, and your what do you call it? Zipper, your bug net zipped.
Your bug net.
Your door. your tent door zipped. Yeah, that's going to make a problem with that.
Because when it falls into the tent door, it kind of
just goes right to the coffee you're heating up. Yeah, not very fun. Yeah. So, but Rick, I was thinking like the evolution of gear, like evolution of, before it's even called gear. I remember growing up, different memories with my father. My parents were divorced. He wasn't around a lot, but what outdoor memories? I think let's dedicate this show, as we talked pregame. Let's dedicate this show to like men in the outdoors, like from a father figure perspective. How about that?
That sounds awesome. And Kyle, and you even brought it up about your dad. That's something that I've met him a couple times. Because of how far away he lives, I don't get a chance to see him as much as you do. But he, from everything that I've seen and heard, in your stories about him and stuff, he was an outdoor guy. Likes being outside. Taught you guys a lot about that. Tell us what it's like growing up with that him as your dad and where that all started, how that all came to be.
Yeah, I mean the honest part of it is my parents were divorced at an early age. I really don't have, as a young man, like up until I was about 21 or 22, I didn't have a lot of time that I spent with my dad. But the time that we did spend, which I don't, in my mind, I couldn't even accurately place it, but you're talking like several weekends, maybe a week or two a year. That was it. Wasn't very much, but we were always doing something outside. He wasn't big into, definitely didn't, cable TV and spending all your time inside. And this was pre video gaming and all that stuff too. We were just always in the outside, from taking us tubing. We got hilarious stories about about my three brothers and I all going with my dad and tubing out when it snowed, and then going all the way to my grandma's in northern Michigan. All getting in a car trip and heading up there, and he would take us hunting.
Is that in the Up? Is that what that's called? The Up?
The UP. It's pretty close. It's like on the western edge of the Huron National Forest, a little town called Mio, M-I-O. He grew up there, and my grandpa still lives there. But he would take us hunting. My little brother was too young to go, be like foot and a half of snow, follow dad's tracks type of thing for snowshoe rabbits. And, 100% for anybody out there with like, hunting, we cleaned everything that we shot. We ate everything that we harvested, total the way you ought to do it in the outdoors. And there were plenty of rabbits, still are plenty of rabbits up there. Had limits, played by the rules, did everything right. But My brother Paul, who's 2 years older, he would always go build a fire to stay warm, and I would always tail and hang out with my dad. It was kind of different. My brother Paul, he didn't want to hunt much. My dad
Yeah.
still makes fun of him to this day, like, "Hey, go make your fire, Paul. Have fun." But I was up there to learn to do that, and I remember shooting a rabbit at a young age, and actually making my first one I'd ever shot, and made a bad shot on it. And my dad said, "Hey, reload that shotgun and shoot it again." And I remember shooting it again and being affected because I felt bad because I wounded it. But I remember my dad proud of me for at least being in the right spot and listening to directions, and learned a lesson about making sure to make a good shot so the animal didn't suffer a little bit. And
Yeah.
then he looked at my grandpa and said, "The boy will hunt."
Yeah.
That's kind of like my attitude with him.
Wow.
But yeah.
What a great memory, and just hearing that affirmation from your dad. That's really cool.
Well, another thing funny, real quick, about my dad too, is that we were during the season you could get partridge, I think, too, back then. They were kind of like an overlap, and there was a one that flew in this tree, and they're kind of like a bigger bird, like I don't know, they're not like a dove, they're a little bit bigger than that. They were in a tree, maybe like 100 yards away, and it flew one tree closer, about 60 yards, and my dad shoots the thing, and it just falls stone dead out of this tree. And so I run over there and pick it up. It was like the little gopher. You want to get it before the rabbit dog did. I picked it up, and he had shot the head clean off the thing.
Oh, wow.
And then I was like, "Oh my gosh, Dad, how did you do that with a shotgun shell?" And he ended up looking at it, and I don't know how, this is a good reason for not mixing your ammo, but he had accidentally loaded a deer slug. If you think about that, at 60 yards, he hit a partridge in the head with a deer slug.
Probably on a fly, right? Yeah.
What's that?
Probably on a fly, right?
Yeah. No, he was standing, but still, he clean shot the thing and didn't waste an ounce of meat. Now that's like the most ethical kill. I've seen really good ones, but that's like a really good story with him. And I was like, and your dad, when your dad's there, you look up to him. They're such a role model. I remember looking up to my dad, like, man, when I'm older, I'm gonna be able to shoot like that.
Right.
Pull a trick like that. So, back over to you. I know your dad, I knew really, really well. Love the guy. Miss him to this day. Tell me about your dad, Rick. Outdoors, what was that like?
Well, for my dad, a lot of our outdoors was revolved around sports. My dad loved baseball, and as he got older, played softball, but was always encouraging us. It was important to him that the house we had is we got it because of the size of the yard, so that we could be outside playing. We had the only double lot in the neighborhood on a corner. It was a place where, and Mom still has it today. That it literally.
Who was the worst baseball player of the Moore boys?
As far as
Matt.
Baseball, Ben, for sure.
I just like to say Matt everything.
You say Matt on everything, but it was definitely Ben. And so, but literally, like, I remember growing up, like, we were outside all the time, and a lot of it was either him, throwing with him, him hitting grounders to us. I remember at one time him hitting grounders to us, and of course he's hitting to me, who's probably 6 or 7, so he's hitting a little harder, maybe even 10, probably time I'm 10, and then Ben's like 4 or 5, and he wears back and hits one at Ben like he hit one at me, and it took a bad hop and hit Ben right in the stomach, and left a big like like the stitches right in his stomach.
Oh, yeah. You got from a liner.
We called him Baseball Ben for a while, B-ball Ben for a long time. But yeah, he set up a field for us, and we played wiffle ball. Anytime, if he wasn't with us, we were outside playing wiffle ball. We'd have full side. We'd have 9, 10 boys on a team.
You guys keep stats or anything like that?
It didn't matter because I was the best, but
keeping stats.
Yeah, no, I was the best at keeping stats. Yeah, no, we had rules where he made sure we knew where we were allowed to hit it and where we weren't, and so over one fence into one neighbor's yard was an out, but the other neighbor was a home run, kind of deal.
Any
And he
broken windows?
no, because we were never allowed to use baseballs.
Yeah.
Just I mean, it was always wiffle balls. And, and then when it changed, we could turn because the way the yard was set up, we could play football and or soccer, which we were all soccer players, but on in the there were a lot of times we played touch football there in the yard, and there would be just game. I mean, they would be 4 and 5 hour games. We play the whole time, and so that was cool. And Dad was always, he was always making sure we had everything we need. He'd put up a basketball court when that time came, and took us, drove us to ball games, and that was cool. And it was always, and then there would be adventures when we went on vacation. It would be adventures, and not necessarily hunting or not necessarily, but we would go places like New Mexico and spend time outside of New Mexico. Every year we went to a lake up in Angola, Indiana. I mean, it was just that kind of thing, and so my grandpa, my mom's dad, was a big fisherman, and he made sure that we got out on the lake with grandpa, and I have a lot of memories fishing with grandpa and dad out on grandpa's boat, and some of them memories, some of them was, oh, I remember what that picture looks like, kind of thing. Yeah. But yeah, and so it was there was definitely a different relationship with my dad. He was there throughout my whole life, and so that was really something that was it was one of those things. It was more about living it to living the adventure and going on the adventure and doing the going big. He always taught us, if you come home from a baseball game and your pants are clean, you didn't play, kind of deal. That kind of thing. Why?
That's a good lesson, man. You got to leave it out there. Like everything's worth diving for, right?
Yeah. Whether it's diving, whether it's sliding, whether it's whatever. And so so that kind of love for being outside, love for adventure definitely came, started with that. There was nothing worse than like getting rained out. You know what I'm saying? Like I remember that. I remember being like 12, 13, 14 years old and crying because man, our game got rained out. Being sad and upset because I couldn't go, play soccer, play baseball, that kind of thing. So yeah, for sure, that outside, in the way of sports came from Dad and his love for it too. He loved baseball and he loved watching us. And it was cool to see how, with him, my mom and him and mom kind of decided, mostly mom decided they didn't want us playing football, so they pushed us towards soccer. Yeah. And Dad, who had no idea about soccer, of course, no man born in the 50s in America knew anything about soccer until in the 80s. He went all out, learned it, figured ways to learn as much as he could, and was there to. So that was really impressive, and really just kind of a cool experience and memory to have about the outside. Is it a lot of those memories of sports and the accomplishments of sports is knowing that seeing Dad there on the sidelines and being part of that for sure. Standing in the pouring rain for championship soccer games and things like that. So for sure.
One thing I want to throw in on is in the absence of a lot of time with my dad, I didn't really get to understand fully who he was till I was an adult. Yeah. And I look back at your dad and in that time frame when I had the absence of my own father and a lot of time spent, I definitely had the role model of my own father-in-law, but also knowing your dad. And sure. When they say gone way too soon, the first person I think about is your dad.
Well, thank you. That it does mean a lot, and I definitely know that I've been blessed. I was blessed with the dad I gotta have and get to have, and whose name I get to carry. So that's a really cool thing to be able to say, and I appreciate that. And one thing I really am excited for you is seeing the relationship that you and your dad have had over the last 15 to 20 years. or even more than that. Like you said, as you turn 20, 25, and
Yeah.
the time you've gotten to spend with him, and seeing how you have really you have made that connection, and you have built that relationship, which was a really cool thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I thank
It's
you, man.
impressive.
When I look at you, I think of your dad a lot.
Yeah.
And I
I
see
did.
there's a lot between you guys.
Yeah, this is his hat. So, and this it's the only cowboy hat I've ever owned. Is his kind of deal. My brothers have more than they know what to do with, but this is the only one I've ever owned, and I got it, and it was his. But even I do see that. I said said somebody that the other day. It's like I get reminded of him every so often when I turn and look in the mirror the wrong way or the right way, maybe
Yeah.
as you say it is.
Yeah.
And then even I think even last spring I was hiking, and Johnny took a picture over his shoulder of me hiking, and I had to look at it 3 times like, Dad, that's not a it was me,
Yeah.
but it looked just like him. So that's just kind of a cool thing. But
That
I mean,
is-
this is a great topic. We could talk about this forever, man. I do
Yeah.
like that a lot.
No,
I think. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I was just gonna say I see aspects of like there's semblance of your dad and all three of your brothers, but man, you really carry it, and I miss the guy. I got a lot. I got to tell you.
Right. Right, and I tell you what, your dad has a great laugh, and every so often when I get you going, I hear it and I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Your dad has a great laugh, and he's just that boisterous kind of guy,
Yeah.
and I like getting you excited and laughing at stuff because I hear that in him. It's kind of cool. That's
Well, I
really
really, speaking of my dad, I really, you talk about getting in touch. That dude used to make us wear bread bags on our feet so they would not get wet
yeah.
in boots. That was like how old school we were. And boy, has gear changed quite a bit.
It's a
Now
little
people
different
don't
now.
want waterproof boots. They're like, oh, they're mesh. They'll dry out. I'm too good for Gore-Tex. You know? You got that crowd out there. I'm like, enjoy your wet feet, sucker.
Enjoy your
know?
right fit. I'll gladly take
Yeah.
my ultras that are waterproof for sure. Oh, awesome. Hey, you know what, Kyle? Let's go ahead and that's a great place. Just kind of give us a chance to take a breath after those good memories and that stuff. Let's take a break here with our go to commercial, and we'll be right back. Thanks, guys, for being here. As always, make sure that you like the podcast. Make sure you press subscribe. Make sure you review it and tell people how much you like it, because it really just helps spread the word. It helps it get to more and more people as it continues to go out there. So thank you for listening. We'll be right back after this quick commercial break. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for being here at the Outdoor Collective. This is Rick. That's Kyle. We are kind of just talking today about heroes. We talked about our dads. Kyle, I know that there have been other guys in your life that you kind of looked up to, kind of saw how they lived and kind of modeled your life out. If you would say, hey, you know what, who's kind of that top guy, maybe top one or two guys, who would you say that is?
I think my father-in-law for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I met him when I was 19 and owned a huge cattle farm, and I pretty much just kind of like, I don't know, learned the lay of the land, watched him work cattle. It was a place he loved. He seldom took vacations because that meant somebody had to watch the farm and do all that stuff. And he's another one that same as your dad. He died at the age of 53 and had pretty much the same internal cancer that your dad did too. Kind of
Right. I remember that.
ironic, but he was a guy that he didn't speak a lot, but when he did, you listen to what he said. His viewing, same as your dad, almost same. It was 4 or 5 hours long to get everybody through there, and even stayed open later to so everybody could pay respect. So this is a well-respected guy, and when he gave advice, you listened. And there are a couple of times we had conversations, and he said, "Oh, I wouldn't do that, or I wouldn't do this, or whatever." And he gave good reasons for it too. He wasn't somebody that spoke without, I guess, good reasoning to do so. He was definitely not a subjective speaker. He was objective and had facts when he spoke about things.
Exactly.
And man, was that dude a Purdue sports fan? Good night, that guy. He knew everything about it, knew the coaches, and I used to, I liked IU basketball, and he was obviously a Purdue guy. And man, when we sit down and watch that game, if IU was going to win, I had to get out of that basement because it would be a crazy day, it'd be a crazy day down there. But anyways, he taught me to. I never done it before, but pull calves. If a calf was hung up, being born there, he taught me how to do that, and sometimes without a tool, and sometimes he'd say like, "Here, just grab hold of that thing and pull for all you can." And I did a couple of that, and sometimes it saved a life, and sometimes it didn't. But you learned a lot about it, and he's had done a lot of that over his lifetime. He was a good man for that. And then I remember, another time real quick, I have another friend that, so I was getting into competition, pistol and rifle shooting from a sporting perspective. And I went and took a training class at a place called Tiger Swan in, I think it's in Pine, North Carolina, kind of there by Fort Bragg. And I met an instructor there and had him for 3 days. And just a fantastic guy, and a guy who's now a retired sergeant major. He served 23 years and was a Delta Force team leader there, and sergeant major for all sorts of deployments. He's Bosnia, Afghanistan. Just a guy who, other probably, who knows how many people he had to counsel when they came into his, leadership platoon there.
Yeah.
That under his leadership, I guess. And I met him through that, and his name's Eddie Edmondson, and just a solid guy. And he's somebody that I don't hesitate to call because he's, I don't know how many people get those, those the Dear John letters, you get overseas, these guys where their wives back home. I know there's women serving too, their husbands as well, but they'd be those letters where they're sending you a letter to tell you they're not going to be there when you get home. And I can't imagine how many of those that he had to have, somebody under his leadership and his division there come in and had to console those guys and still keep a fighting force going, but also morale and just line everybody up. So, it's a guy that I trust his decision. He also does some motivational speaking for some sports teams and things too. It's just a guy who's led men in the field of battle. I think he's got 3 Purple Hearts. It's got multiple awards, bravery and other things. But anyways, I called him one time after kind of like my first failed relationship after divorce, which is kind of a tougher one on me. And I called him and just seeking advice. And his first thing he said to me is like, you're not thinking about doing these things stupid, are you? And I said, no, I would never like that. And he goes, no, I mean to yourself. And I'm like, I never really thought about that. Like that was probably like veteran suicide is a gigantic
for sure
an issue out there with that. And he's probably had to talk to people about that. And I wasn't thinking about anything like that, but I was definitely upset. He said, you know what you need? He was asking about work and some other things. He said, you know what you need is stop talking about these big victories and get you some small ones. And, little by little, week by week, I was able to put my life back together. And I've never been a quitter, but it's nice to have somebody else on your team that you believe in, that you have good rapport with, that makes you feel better about yourself, speaking truth into your life. And that's what Eddie does for me. He'll just say, like, what are you winning at?
Yeah,
and I always have an answer for that when I think I don't. And the next thing I know, after half an hour, a little pat on the ass, all of a sudden, I'm back in the game again. Yeah. And, to answer your question, that's, I wish my father-in-law was alive. I wish I could hug your dad right now. And my friend Eddie's a big influence in my life as well from a positive male perspective.
That's great. And I think when I look at it, I know you do too. The list is long as far as coaches that you admire and guys that you that have been in your life. And I was blessed and I'm going to go off the script a little bit because I just thought of it, Kyle, but I was blessed growing up in a church that was full of godly men who knew the importance of godly men in young men's lives. And from the age of, I want to say probably, kindergarten or so, every Sunday there was there at church, there was a man who was teaching me part of the Bible. There was a man who was part. It wasn't just the moms and the little ladies who were, who were the ones who were teaching Sunday school. It was men like my dad. But there's lists that could go on and on and on of these men, and having them in my life, it was something that. So I was talking to about it the other day to actually a group of students. Like I was one of those rare kids that liked church, and I think a lot of it had to do with the kind of men that were there leading, and the kind of men that were the ones who were teaching and part of my life, and the lessons I learned from them. And so that is just a glimpse into that. But to answer the question I answered you. The one outside of my dad, above all others, would be Coach Corona, my college basketball coach. He, by far, was that external father figure who taught me lessons and who showed me that I could do more than I ever expected. He's the one who taught me that, yes, I can be tired and I could do more. That yes, you can mistakes, but there are, you can make mistakes, but then you have to get up out of and fix that mistake or move on instead of, just focusing on that. And that has a lot to do with any sport, but I remember that. And even, it's a good relationship. There's that I can tell you now, which would be 28 years since it happened. The one time that he got cross with me, in a sense of, now, not that the coaches that yelled at me were bad coaches and that I didn't deserve to be yelled at, but I can remember the one time that Coach Corona yelled at me during a game. And it simply was late in the season, late in a game. It was late in my freshman season. It was late in the game. I had not had a good game. The point guard that was guarding me had just, ate me for lunch kind of deal. Mm-hmm. And he looked at me halfway, not even halfway through the second quarter and said, or the second half, is like, "Hey, Rick," he just yelled at me like, "You are no longer a freshman. Why don't you start acting like it?" I can remember word for word what and where we were. But just in that kind of that slap in the face, like, it's time for you to man up, kind of deal. And remembering what that motivation did for me, even to this day, I can kind of look at that and go, well, you know what? There's a chance to man up. And so, Coach Corona was he was a Marine. In fact, he posted stuff today about it here today is Wednesday as we're recording, but being the Marine's birthday, and mm-hmm. And he posted that, and it just reminded me just what a hero he was in his own life, and then just even in my life, was a really cool thing. When it comes to the outdoors, and it comes to the specific love of fishing, a specific knowledge and or want to learn more about fishing, by all means, that one man in my life was a guy named Tim Fisher. Mm-hmm. And Kyle, the summer I spent in Plainfield, I got to live in his house, and he was a godly man, and I got a chance to live in his house. And I'll tell you what, nobody, and I think you would agree with me, no 20-year-old boy should be given a whole upstairs of a house with a stocked refrigerator,
unlimited
pizza rolls, unlimited pop, and oh, by the way, you live on a lake, and all you gotta do is walk out the back door and go fishing all day, every day, and it's just going to be there for you anytime you need it. That was an amazing. But I remember that first week, maybe 2 weeks that I moved in that summer. Dude, he was all about, like, here's how you do it, and here's how you do it right. Mm-hmm. Like, and even to the point of, like, even to the point of how you tie a knot, even the point of how you cast, even the point of where you cast to, and the difference between slow and fast, and why you need this and why you need that, and presentation, and even to the point of driving the boat and putting me in the place where I would succeed, so that I would understand what I need to do. And then was man enough and stern enough to lock the gate, because he didn't think I was keeping upstairs clean enough, and I wasn't allowed to go fishing until I cleaned upstairs a little bit better for it.
I didn't know that part of it.
Yeah. One day I came home, and I came home, and there's a note on the counter. The gate to the lake is locked, and it will not be unlocked until upstairs gets a little put together a little nicer.
Yeah. Are you trying to tell me you're a little bit behind on the housekeeping sometimes?
All the time. But yeah, there's a reason you see from here up at my house most
I'm
days.
telling you, yeah, right now there's my kitchen island's like 6 months behind for the house. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat now.
But yeah, I mean, but just in that, like just in that progression of the willingness to teach excellence in how you're going to do it, and the love of it, and why doing it that way is the best. And then being steadily enough to go, guess what, dude?
Yeah,
you're not doing it until you do this. And those are some lessons that really just kind of stand out as far as when it comes to adventure, when it comes to outside, when it comes to being a man outside, those kind of things are. And then, and I could go on and on. But those two guys for sure for me are, where it's at.
Yeah. I think it's important, and there's a couple of themes in the guys that we've talked about just sitting there, and we're doing this want to see my show notes for today? Here, let me hold them up for you.
Yeah, exactly.
We're doing this very off the cuff today, which means,
and I think it comes from our heart, which even makes it better. But yes,
yeah. But no, the thing you talked about is you had people willing to talk to the younger generation about their learning.
Mm-hmm.
And, back then we didn't talk about people who knew sharing with us what they knew as a know-it-all, or from a disrespected personality point of view, saying, you don't think I know anything, or you think I'm stupid or whatever. Like, we were absorbing that things. The other side of that too is do we have people and do you have people and do I have people in my life that we're teaching to that are younger as well? Not and are those people receiving that advice? I think obviously I have 2 daughters. I don't have a son, but if there's, I got some guys definitely younger than I am at work, and I'll tell you, there's some of that father figuring going on. When I do have to have some tough conversations with some people and speak some truth. Into that as well. But what else do you think in common those guys that we've talked about tonight? What would you see, especially anything you can weave in there, like outdoor related?
Well, I think one thing to remember is too, there was no such thing as YouTube.
Yeah.
So I mean that was, Tim was my YouTube of learning how to tie a knot. Tim was my YouTube. My dad was my YouTube of how to change oil. Whether it was a coach who, I didn't have YouTubes to learn dribbling moves or, dribbling drills. I had to learn them because coach told me, hey, here's the ones you're going to do, those kind of things. And so I think there's that difference there in the sense of the knowledge. They were the ones with the knowledge, and that was the knowledge I wanted. So they were the ones I went to get it.
Yeah.
Now, and so I think we have to make ourselves available, and I think that was the biggest thing. They were available. How many of us are available if somebody wanted to know what we have to talk about? Are we available to show up to say, here's how you set a tent up? Are we available to say, hey, you know what? When it comes to splitting firewood, here's a couple ways you can do it. Or when it comes to building a fire, are we available? Do people have access to us, or are we accessible? And I think that could be guys, that could be men, that could be women, that could be anybody. And I see that in the work I do with students, is that honestly is a lot of it is the men that we're talking about gave us access to their lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think
And
that's
simple.
that's the the golden ticket as far as that goes. And so my question would be to us, or a challenge to us, and I know now it sounds like I'm preaching, but I think the challenge is that are we accessible? You know, the guys I know, because I know the kind of boss you are. The guys you work that work for you know that you're accessible. Like, hey, I don't understand this, Kyle. How can I do this better? You're going to tell them. You know, they're going if they're willing to hang out with you, you're willing to give them what you know and what they need to know. But I think it takes us being willing to be accessible, and then there is some part of the the student willing to listen as well.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I think that definition of learning is knowledge acquired by one's own effort.
yeah,
You know, like I'll tell you how many of my people come and I don't know, 15 people right now that are in my work unit. I have one that will come to me to see things to do better. The other ones don't necessarily do that. Now, when you have feedback and things we need to work on, they'll take that and do pretty well with it. But as far as like somebody coming to me, I can't tell you in the last 2 months if somebody's come to me and said, hey, is there anything I can do better?
Right.
You know, and I'm not overly, I know I've been doing this 21 years. I'm not overly giving them feedbacks like all the time or every little thing we got to talk about. I'm not doing that. But also I don't have anybody coming to me saying, you know, so often saying, hey, what can I do different? I don't feel like I'm making the cut. What can I do better? Those types of things. We're just in a different time span. My whole theory on it all is I think that men trying to teach other people to do anything that is back in the day is pretty much absent in leadership in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
We
I'm
think
talking from a work perspective. I'm talking like a personal outdoor, like when we do our backpacking clinic, Rick, how many guys we have come to those?
Right. And it comes down to two things. One is either we think I have to learn from this perfect expert who's got their own YouTube channel or their own cable network TV. And if I can't do it like they do it, then I don't want to do it. Or there is probably a little something of there is a little bit of humbling to say, hey, I'm a 35-year-old man who likes the idea and wants to get to the adventure, but I really haven't had somebody who's taught me. Mm-hmm. Do I want to be vulnerable around a campfire and go, hey guys, I'm not really sure I know how to do this. And so there's that struggle of being a man. And you know what? You know, it could be the same for me. If I wanted to learn, if I chose to learn a new skill, how am I going to go about doing that? Am I going to seek out somebody? Am I going to go to a public place and be like, hey, I'm an idiot. I don't know what I'm doing. Can you learn? Or am I going to try to? And so I think there's a little bit of that as well. But I definitely think it takes those of us who love doing things, love being outside, love sport, love the sporting, love hunting, love fishing, love whatever. And it's the same true. It could be love technology. It could be love warehouse organization. It could be love banking. Being available for those who are coming up and moving up in it, as far as that goes. Yeah. What a great conversation that was nowhere near what we thought it would be about, but how awesome is that?
Yeah. I mean, I guess my final thought on to close it all out is did your dad teach you how to shave when you first started shaving?
My dad did teach me. Let me start over. I still to this day shave the way my dad did.
Yeah.
I don't know that it was because he said, here, take your razor and do this. I think it was because he left the bathroom door open when you're shaving.
Well, and I tell you, two things that I would say today, and I challenge anybody on this. I guarantee YouTube is teaching more kids to shave than their own dads.
Right.
My second one would be, are the dads even around to show them?
Right. And so it could be shaving. It could be anything, parents or whatever. That's a perfect example of access. Like I learned how to shave because when I started shaving, I started just holding my face the way my dad, and I still to this day, when I shave this cheek, I hold my face the way my dad shaved when he held his cheek. When I go underneath here, my dad had a beard for a long time.
Yeah.
And so and even when I was beardless, I shaved, and made held my mouth. I still to this day I can do it because that's the way he did it. Not necessarily him holding my hand and going, "Hey, put your lips this way and pull this way," kind of deal.
Yeah.
And so it's a matter of who has access to you,
Yeah.
and who are you giving access to, and at the same time, who do you have access to so that you become a lifelong learner as well. As far as
we're gonna have
great.
to
I think it's great.
We're gonna, good dialogue, man. Love to throw that stuff around. I think we're gonna have to do a show dedicated to the strong women that we've had in our lives as well on that. I've been accused of being a mama's boy, and I'm really not. Sorry about that. I have a really good mom, and she's been good. And there's some, just as there's dads out there that never showed up, there's moms that never have too. But I tell you what, you focus on the good things that are there, and that's what you work with. And that's certainly what, we focus on the good role models in our lives. And my challenge to this would be is like, to anybody listening to this, is go out there and show someone looking to learn something what and if you get a little brush off or a little bit of, I can look YouTube up or whatever, that YouTube's relationshipless. Like it is removed from a name, from connectivity. Like you can't hug your computer screen and get a feeling of warmth, but you can somebody else when they show you something that saves you or means a lot to you, or that you find dear, and you can build a relationship with that. And that's what we're here on this earth for, is good relationships.
I like it a lot, man. Hey, yeah, again, I think this might be one of the most meaningful ones we've had. We'll probably get in trouble for being too preachy, but if you've liked what we've heard, we'd love to hear from you. Put comments in the YouTube, send something to us on Facebook. We'd love to hear from you guys on that. Kyle, thanks for a great night. Thanks for hanging out. I love that. I love that that puffy. Make sure you don't leave it laying around the campsite, because it will probably go home with me.
It's too small for you.
No. No. And speaking of that, you have a lot of other puffies. So now that you have the puffy, maybe you can give me one of yours. So
maybe some Kuiu in your future.
So maybe some Kuiu in my future. But hey, man, everybody, it's always great hanging out with you. It boggles my mind that you guys show up and listen to two goofballs talk about cowboy hats and puffy coats, and how Rip may be the best character on TV at the moment. But if you have anything, we love to hear it. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like. Make sure you tell your friends about us. Kyle, send us out.
Hey, everybody, we like to say the outdoors is nearly perfect. The only thing missing is you. So you get outside. Have a great time.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.